Energy bars without caffeine, not only is that possible, sometimes it's desirable. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more coming up in 2 seconds. Welcome, I'm John of John Health and Fitness, and today we're going to review REDD energy bars. That's Radiant Energy Deliciously Delivered. Before we go any further, I'm going to timestamp all the sections of this review down in the description so you can jump around to the sections you're interested in. I'm going to start right away with the highlights on this one. Highlight number 1, it has no caffeine. Now when you hear energy bar, or mix, or drink, the first thing you think of is caffeine or some other stimulant. But as I pointed out in a recent review of energy drinks and ways to make them better, I'll throw a link up underneath the eye up there, real energy comes from nutrients. Caffeine and guarana and other stimulants can play an important role. Stimulant can kind of boost a workout, it can boost mental acuity, it can get you through a really long afternoon of conference calls and meetings. But real energy comes from nutrients, and sometimes that's all you need, or sometimes you've already had enough caffeine for the day, or you've had your cup of coffee, and all you want is that nutrient. And that's what I use these bars for. In fact, I'll find myself sometimes leading, say, a group fitness class, and my legs are just feeling heavy. Caffeine's really not going to help with that. What I need is just some real energy, some nutrients, and these fit that bill. But no, if you're looking for that pop of energy, that's not what you get from these. In fact, these used to have caffeine, a modest amount, and they took it out. Highlight number 2, these are 200 calories and north depending on the flavor. So these are a substantial snack, not big enough to be a meal replacement, but a sizable snack. And again, in terms of a pre-workout bar, that's enough to get you going. That's kind of like the sweet spot, I think, of a pre-workout meal. You don't necessarily want a lot of food or a big meal, even an hour before a workout. I once had some lasagna about an hour and a half before I had to lead an admittedly vigorous group fitness class. That did not turn out well. Not for anybody. Highlight number 3, I'm going to get into great detail on this a little bit later. It really matters which flavor you get. In a lot of these bars, the flavors are definitely different, but there's a consistency to it. You kind of either like that bar in 2, 3, 4 of its flavors, or you don't. This one's quite different. Alright, so let's get to the macros. These also vary among flavors, but it's going to be 200, 220 calories thereabouts. Fats tend to be 10, 11, 12 grams of fat, equal amounts of protein, again 10, 11. Carbohydrates anywhere from 24 to 30 or so carbohydrates. Sugars in the low to mid single digits, typically 3 to 5. One thing to note, it has a substantial amount of fiber. Among those 24 to 30 grams of carbohydrates, often a third to a half of that is fiber. 11, 12, 13 grams of fiber. That's as much as a third as you might need in a day, which is pretty impressive. Even more impressive and somewhat disturbing is that's often more than half what the average American gets. So this one bar packs a fiber punch. In fact, I'd be a little careful if you have a very low fiber diet and you're trying to work that in. I'd be very cautious taking an entire bar of this right off the bat and then going to a workout in particular. Try it out, make sure it agrees with your system. That fiber is primarily tapioca fiber. I found that very agreeable to me. But still, definitely proceed with caution if you have a very low fiber diet. 11 grams all at once in this little bar, that you might notice. So even with all that fiber, even with relatively low amounts of sugar, I wouldn't necessarily call this keto friendly. I wouldn't necessarily call it low carb, although it's pretty close. That's a decision you'll have to make on your own. Let's move on to the ingredients. These vary quite a bit from flavor to flavor as well. It's a pretty long list, but that's partly because it has these superfood blends in it. Now, I'm not big on single source superfoods. I mean really, acai, goji berries, chia seeds. These are all perfectly good nutrients. But no, none of them are going to make you an Inca warrior. None of them are going to make you invincible. None of them are going to make you live forever. I've just been up and down that road too many times. But I do believe in a variety of nutrients. And this has a huge variety of nutrients, which I do think is attractive. The other thing to note is no unnatural anything as far as I can tell. I know some people might have some trouble with some of the ingredients. The palm oil. The company does say it's sustainably sourced, not in the label but elsewhere, if that's an issue for you. But overall, this is natural, so no artificial sweeteners, colors, flavors, or anything like that. Quick word about the protein. It's all plant-based. Pea, hemp, and pumpkin. These are all very good sources of protein. Should provide you a decent complement of amino acids. In fact, those are a lot of proteins I take separately anyway. One more thing about the ingredients is it includes 1 billion in probiotics. Now, I know a little bit about probiotics. In fact, I'll throw a link down in the description to my blog, Microbiome Bulletin, where I discuss a lot of these kinds of things. But first of all, 1 billion is not that much, so don't get super excited. You have 39 trillion bacteria living in and on you. Oh, and don't freak out that there are billions of bacteria crawling all over and in you. Well, there are billions of bacteria crawling all over and in you, but it's okay, it's by design. Most of them are friendly. Most of them. Tens of billions of them are friendly. So adding a billion is not a big deal. And you probably have 1,000 different species down there. This bar has one single species or strain, Bacillus coagulans. So why Bacillus coagulans? Does it have special energy producing properties? No. Bacillus coagulans is very popular in packaged and processed foods because it's very resistant to heat. It survives that manufacturing process. It's not that it's a bad probiotic. By definition, a probiotic has to confer some health benefit. For example, it could be useful in the treatment of traveler's diarrhea. And I suppose you could argue that traveler's diarrhea could sap your energy, and so, yeah, no, that's not dumb. So is that Bacillus coagulans a really big selling point? Yeah, maybe if you're traveling. But otherwise, I would not put a lot of stock in it. So let's move on to taste and texture, and this is an important one. There are some of these flavors I do not like at all, and some I actually do like. Something you should know about this one, I think the fact that it has these superfood blends, particularly that mushroom blend, gives it a little bit of a funky flavor. It's not necessarily off-putting, but it's not particularly desirable. So let me start with the oatmeal flavor. I typically really like oatmeal flavor. I like the flavor of oatmeal. But this oatmeal flavor, because oatmeal is a subtle flavor, I think is a little overwhelmed by that weird, funky background taste. It also has some of this coca liqueur in it that a lot of these bars have. I don't know why it's in the oatmeal. It doesn't seem to belong there. But in any case, that was my least favorite. The next one I tried was chocolate. So if you like chocolate, I think you'll like this. The chocolate more or less masks that funky flavor, and it's a nice, deep, rich chocolate. Like peanut butter. The peanut butter kind of masks the funky flavor. And again, if you like peanut butter, you might like this. Now I say of all those three, none of those are like knocked out of the ballpark. Did not like the oatmeal, and the chocolate and the peanut butter were good, but not like my favorite chocolate bars of all time. And that brings us to salted caramel and chocolate mint. These were very good, not just good for these red bars. These are just good overall. In fact, the salted caramel is the best salted caramel I've ever had. I'm routinely disappointed by energy bars and meal replacement bars that say they're salted caramel, and they really don't come up to par. This one has a deep, rich caramel flavor. I didn't get any of that funky background taste from the other flavors. If I buy this bar again, it's going to be salted caramel. They do that good a job on it, I think, if you like salted caramel. Full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of caramel. I think the world would be a better place with more caramel. And butterscotch. Why are more things flavored with butterscotch? Is butterscotch an old-timey flavor? Good Lord, I sound like my father talking about licorice. Chocolate mint, likewise, it's way up there on the list. Nice pronounced mint flavor, and I already like the chocolate. They do a good job on that. So those two. Now, it's all, of course, personal preference. So I would suggest, if you're interested in trying these bars, you want a non-caffeine energy bar, and you're looking for a bar of these kind of nutrient profile, get the variety pack. That's exactly what I did. And I'll have a link to that down in the description. Alright, so what about texture? Let's take a quick look at that. It's your basic rectangle bar, not surprising. I would put it in kind of the chewy, cakey category. Not super chewy, not stick to your teeth chewy, but a nice soft kind of texture to it. It breaks apart fine, holds together just fine. See some of that, I think there's little chocolate liqueur spots into it. This is the peanut butter flavor. Nothing objectionable about the texture that I find. So to sum up, this is a perfectly fine energy bar. I have used this pre-workout, and I do think it's readily available nutrients. It seems to help. It doesn't jazz you up like caffeine, but it does help. The flavors are very particular depending on your taste and the flavor you choose of this bar. If you like one flavor, it does not mean you're going to like the others and vice versa. So again, if you want to give it a try, definitely I recommend the variety pack. Hey, have you ever tried these bars? Could you let me know in the comments? I like to hear what other people have to say, or any other kind of bar you think works as well too. I'm constantly reviewing these things. In fact, if you're interested, you can hit that subscribe button and the alert bell. If you don't hit the alert bell, you'll never see me again. It's just how YouTube works. We do not only nutrients and reviews, but we also do exercise and motivation. So thanks very much for watching, and do take care.